Rise and shine, everyone. It is the best time of the week. Time to make some moolah. Welcome into Beat the Bookie. I'm your host, Jaron May. Before we get into our picks of the weekend, we got to give credit where credit is due. Cooper Boardman ended in the green last week in the first lacrosse show of the year. It's a rare occasion. That slots Coop into second in the 2021 standings, only behind Pat Gunn. Other than those two, BTB hasn't done too great. Clark, Spector, Kronberg, Valentine, and others have all finished in the negative. Overall, the show is down over $170, but don't worry, I'm here to make some of that back with FCS football. $100 in the bankroll. Let's get it going with our big games of the week, and it doesn't get any bigger than this. Number 2 North Dakota State taking on number 4 South Dakota State for the Mountain Valley Conference Championship. Both of these teams love to run the ball, ranking top 10 in the FCS in yards on the ground per game. But the Bison have the edge defensively, only allowing just over 100 rushing yards per game. The Jackrabbits haven't played in a month due to COVID complications, while the Bison are looking to win their 10th straight conference title. Plus, SDSU hasn't lost at home, which is where they're playing, in 32 games dating back to 2016. This will be a close one, low scoring, but I like North Dakota State to cover the small 2-point spread. Let's put $10 down on that. In another top-ranked tilt, number 1 James Madison is hosting number 11 Richmond. The line is set at 9.5 in favor of the Dukes. It's pretty big, but JMU is a perfect 4-0 on the season with an average winning margin of 16 points. Cole Johnson leads his team with 150 QBR, and the Dukes have 3 players averaging over 60 rushing yards per game. On the other side, the Spiders are a decent team. They're 3-0, but 2 wins over a bad Elon squad doesn't really impress me. I expect a high-scoring shootout with little defense, so if that comes true, give me the better offense. James Madison minus 9.5, $10 on that. Rounding out our big games of the week, we got number 7 Delaware squaring off against number 10 Villanova. The spread is set at 6.5, while the over-under is 56 points. Let me just read you out some numbers here. The Blue Hens have scored 37, 31, 35, and 34 points this season, while not allowing more than 2 touchdowns once the entire spring. Delaware also causes over 3 turnovers per game. Nova hasn't played in 2 weeks and will need to get some rust off. We're putting $10 on the better offensive team, Delaware, to cover the minus 6.5 in a blowout victory. Moving on to my picks of the week, we start with VMI versus the Citadel with a line set at 7. The Cadets have a lethal passing attack behind freshman QB Seth Morgan. He's completing 77% of his passes, and he can run, ranking 2nd on the team in rush yards per game. Morgan's success is thanks to his dangerous wide receiver Jacob Harris, who has over 114 yards per contest. Kind of crazy. The Citadel have struggled against potent passing attacks this season, so expect a convincing win for VMI to secure the SoCon championship. I'm putting $10 on Virginia Military Institute to cover, but I'll buy that half point just in case to make the line 6.5. Continuing on, let's go to the Mercer-Samford game. This line opened at 4 and is now down to 2.5. I agree with this movement. I really don't understand why the Bears are the underdogs. They've been dogs in 3 straight weeks now and have won all of them and done it convincingly. In its 4-game winning streak, Mercer has a plus 11 scoring margin. The Bears may not be the best in specific statistical categories, but somehow they just win, and that's all that matters. Technically, we're going out on a limb here, but I like it. Give me $10 on Mercer money line at plus 115 odds. Wrapping up my picks of the week, we go to Arkansas Pine Bluff taking on Prairie View A&M. That is a mouthful. I know. Why isn't this one of our big games of the week? It's such a high-profile matchup. But in all seriousness, Prairie View has a shutdown defense. In just 2 games, the Panthers have 26 tackles for a loss, 10 sacks, and 3 interceptions. As for the Golden Lions, they have 29 TFLs, 11 sacks, and 4 INTs. The point I'm trying to make here is both of these teams are defensive-minded. So as much as this pains me, I'm putting $10 on the under at 51.5. I know, I'm sorry for taking an under. Now it's time for my lock of the week. Number 5, Sam Houston, is playing Incarnate Word this afternoon with the over-under set at a whopping 76.5 points. I've been told, bet the teams and not the number. So that's what I'm going to do. Incarnate Word is third in the country, averaging 48 points per game, while Sam Houston is fourth with 45. I know 76.5 is a crazy line, but if math works correctly, these two teams should combine for at least 80 points. Go big or go home. $20 on the over for our lock of the week. Moving on to our underdog of the week, we go to the Valparaiso-San Diego game. The spread is set at 12 in favor of SD. Now, the Toreros will probably win this game, but when they do win, they rarely blow out their opponents, while Valpo loses by only an average of 7 points. The Crusaders have a run-first offense led by Robert Washington, who has 5 touchdowns on the shortened season. If they stay on the ground, they'll be able to dictate the tempo of the game and keep it close. So let's put $10 on Valpo to cover the plus 12. Finally, let's put a bow on everything with a can't-miss parlay. First, we have the over of 61 in the Portland versus Montana game. The Grizzlies scored 59 points in their first game of the season, while the Vikings haven't played this year but are returning key players from last year's squad who put up 35 points per game last season. So I expect a high-scoring game out west. The next leg is Holy Cross to cover -5 versus Bucknell. The Crusaders are coming off 2 consecutive wins over Lehigh and Fordham thanks to their dominant rush game. The Bison haven't seen a team like Holy Cross yet this year, so give me HC by at least a touchdown. Final leg of the parlay is the over in the Presbyterian at Drake game. I know earlier I said bet the teams and not the number, but 35.5 is such a tantalizing number. The Bulldogs have struggled to score at times this year, averaging just 11 points through their first 3 games, but in their last matchup, they poured in 33. And Presbyterian is a consistent mid-20s team, so give me the over with the low line. And to recap the parlay, it's the over Portland, Montana, Holy Cross to cover versus Bucknell, and Drake and Presbyterian to score more than 35.5 points. $10 will yield us 58. That does it for the picks. Before we go, let's take a quick look at the sheet for the day. We got the Bison over the Jackrabbits, Delaware to have a convincing win over Villanova, Mercer to upset Samford. Our lock of the week is the crazy over in Sam Houston Incarnate Word, while our underdog goes to Valpo against San Diego. And there you have it, 9 of the best bets you'll ever take. You can thank me later. Best of luck to you this weekend. For our producers and everyone who has helped out on the show, I'm Jaron May signing off. Let's go beat that bookie.